Hi everybody, welcome back to Small Caliber Arms Review. I'm Richard. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of those scary black rifles, but this one is the Tavor 7. This is made by Israeli Weapons Industries, and this one, instead of 5.56, is chambered in 7.62 by 51. Yes, 308 and 7.62 by 51 are interchangeable in some firearms. This one, the owner's manual suggests using only NATO 7.62 by 51 rounds. So I picked up a couple boxes of just some old Winchester white box M80 7.62 by 51, 149 grain, 2,790 feet per second. Now the Tavor 7 is it's a Bull Pup. That's the reason it looks so short. It does have a 16.5-inch barrel in this one, but everything is kind of set back in there, so your bolt is way back here instead of being out in front of the trigger. So there's a bunch of linkage that connects all this stuff to all the workings inside there, and you hold it in a much shorter platform. Now it's, or configuration. This firearm is probably designed for, of course, Israel designed it for actual battlefield situations, close quarter battles, CQB, and it's to go into rooms and where you don't have enough, area to swing around a full-size firearm. But here in the United States, these are imported for sporting use. And great gun for 3-gun competition. If you're into that, you need a pistol, a rifle, and a shotgun. And this is a really good choice for one because it is easy to wield. It does have a couple QD mounts on it. It's got 2 on each side, here, back here, here, and here. And this gun is fully ambidextrous. It can be switched for lefties or righties. Your charging handle that is on this side right here can be switched over to this side. Same thing with your ejection port for your spent rounds. They're going to come out on the right side of the gun. Your safety is ambidextrous. You have a smaller one on the right hand side of the gun and a much larger one for your thumb on the left hand side of the gun. This one is equipped with a optic on it. It has a Vortex Spark red dot on it, and the owner put a Vortex 3-power magnifier on it. It does have some flip-up backup sights on it, but they're really not able to be used. I guess you could flip this one up and co-witness with your red dot. Yeah, I do believe it will co-witness. Yep, but we're going to try it just with the red dot on it, so we'll go ahead and close down these sights. And we might even take some 100-yard shots out on the rifle range and use the magnifier that's on there. Pretty easy gun to tear down to field strip to clean it. Let me show you that real quick. All right, now when you're field stripping the Tavor, you are going to need a tool, and you're probably going to have it with you, which is just a round. That's the only thing you need to clean this, to take it apart to clean this thing up. There's several different pins on this thing located on the right hand side of it over here. So on the buttstock, you've got one pin right here on the back. You just take the point of the round, give it a little push, and then you can reach over on the other side and grab that pin and pull it back. The back of it's going to open up, and then you can pull the bolt assembly. Make sure your pin is all the way back. Pull it right out of the back there. Once you've got the bolt out, there is your bolt right there, and you'll see it's got 2 ejectors, 1 extractor on it. This bolt can be turned around to convert it to a left-hand firing gun. You'll also have to take the cam pin in there and spin that around too, and it is marked with an R and an L, and you have to turn it one way or the other to get it set up where you need to. So to pull the firing pin out, there's another little pin right here, and these are all captive units, which make it really nice because I don't have to worry about dropping that pin on the floor. Of course, the firing pin I could drop on the floor. It does have a spring that's captive on there. They recommend not taking that spring off the firing pin. To pull the bolt out of there, this cam pin right here needs to be taken out, and once you get the firing pin out, you should be able to wiggle this a little bit and get that pin to fall out. Now, like I said, it is marked with the R and the L right on the top of it there. So one way is going to be for right-handed, the other way is going to be for left-handed. And then when you pull the bolt out, now this is a piston-activated firearm, so you don't get all the dirt and crud and everything on it like you would in the AR. You can see right here, this hole is marked for right, and if you roll it the other way, that one's marked for left, and then you'll just have to configure that pin to work with it the way it needs to be. We're going to leave it set up on the right hand configuration, so we'll go ahead and put the bolt back in it. Now the extractor is going to be on the right hand side if you are right handed, and then that hole right there with the R on it will be pointing upwards. Try to give you the best look at this I can. As you get down inside there, you'll see the opening in the bolt, that hole right there. You'll be able to see it through this little window right here. And it's going to be hard for me to show you while I'm putting it back in. But you get that lined up, get your R turned the right way, and drop that right down inside there. And it should wiggle around in there just a little bit. Then you'll be able to take your firing pin, put it right back in the back of it there, and push your detent pin back in. Make sure it's all the way in there, and that will now just move that little bit right there. It will cam all the way, but there's a lever underneath here that has to be pushed up, and then you can push the bolt all the way in, and then it'll do its rotation a little bit where it goes into lockup. Pull it back, make sure that's in there. Your cam pin's not going to fall out because your firing pin is actually holding it in. Your detent pin right there is holding the firing pin from coming out. To put it back in there, all you got to do, get it lined up in there. And everything will slide right back in. You're going to close this door on it. You're going to have to give a little bit of pressure to get your pin to line back up. And it holds the door and the bolt in there in one unit. You got the trigger pack here, or it's the hammer part of it, and that's underneath the gun right here. You got these two pins. Again, take a round, push that in, push that one in, then you can pull them out the other side there. This is going to have a little bit of spring tension on it. No, that it doesn't have any. It has tension when you go to open it. So you'll open that up. We'll go ahead and tip it up, and we should be able to get the trigger pack here to fall out. Actually, it's not going to come out until I pull the bolt back out of it. Let's go ahead and take the bolt back out of it. Now we can get our trigger group there to come out. And it'll fall right out. This is your hammer right here. You don't need to flip that hammer up. You shouldn't need to, but if you do, you definitely want to keep your hand on it and then move your lever there to let the hammer up. Be careful with it, because if you let that fly, it'll damage the case right there. So we're not going to do anything to it right now. It's all pretty clean in there. Like I said, with this being a piston activated gun, it stays a lot cleaner up in the fire control group area. So we can put this back in here. It slides right back in. Close that door. Push your two detent pins back in. And they do take a little bit of effort to get in there, but you're not going to lose them. We'll open this back up, and we will put our bolt assembly back in there. Slides in nice and easy. Close that up, push our pin back in. Then the only other thing you need to take apart for maintenance on this gun is right here at the front of it. Yes, it is unloaded. I took the bolt out, there's nothing in there. You got this control right on the front here. This is your gas control, and you're going to take a round again and put it in there. It is made for taking a round in there and rotating it. There's I think 4 different settings on here. There is regular, which is marked with the R, A, which is adverse, and then there's S for suppressed, and O for off. You can actually shut the gas system completely off and use it like a bolt operated gun. So what we're going to do, we're going to remove this piston from here, and all you got to do is put your round in there, and you're going to have to roll it down some. You're going to have to roll it just a little bit past that, and it doesn't click into position there. But you just got to get things lined up just right, and then you can pull the piston out of it. So now that we've got the piston cylinder assembly out of here, you can pull, this is the actual piston, pull it out. It's got the gas rings on it there, and I've cleaned this one up a little bit. Still got a little bit of crusty carbon built up on it, but it does move freely now. And you can see the holes in there. This is where the gases go through there. You got regular, I believe that's going to be your adverse. and that is going to be your suppressed. And that gas is what comes up in here, pushes this piston back, runs the op rod, which works the bolt system in there. To put it back in, your little spot right here where there's no teeth on there is going to go down, because it's going to fit in that little groove right in there. So we can push this back in there, get it lined up, and you can give it a little click, and then we're going to rotate it. We're going to try to rotate it. We'll put the round back in there, and we're going to rotate it to its first click, which is going to be the regular setting. Now there's a little dimple on the end right here. That's what lines up with your different settings on there. Plus you got the different clicks from the detent on there to hold it. We're just going to run it in regular because that's all you need to do. If you run it in the adverse setting where it gets the most gas through there, it can damage your firearm. And that setting is for if you get into a situation where your gun is giving you trouble and it needs to work, then that's when you want to use that. You do not want to use it extensively though. 45-degree throw on the safety on there, so really easy to get to. And like I said, this whole thing can be swapped over for a lefty, but we're going to leave it in the right-handed position. Let's get this thing out on the range and give it a few shots. All right, everybody, here we are out at the saloon, and I've got the Tavor with me. It fits in just pretty much a regular AR-15 type soft bag, if you will. Got 3 magazine pouches on the front of it there, and there are 3 magazines in there. And here is the Tavor. Now I do have an empty magazine in it. The mag release is right up here by your trigger finger, or there is one on the other side. So if you're a lefty, you just push it and it's ready to go. Let's get this case out of the way, and we'll get that 1 magazine loaded up and then give it a few shots. All right, now like I said, the owner has been using 308s in it. You can fire 308s in it. It's just that the manual says to use the 7.62 by 51s. So that's what I'm going to use in it. Now, unlike a 5.56 and 2.23, you cannot fire 5.56s in a 2.23. You should not fire them in there. It will damage the gun. It's a little bit different with 7.62 by 51 and 308s. The 308 is actually a little more powerful, so you want to be real careful with that. Most of the time, the 7.62 by 51 is a little bit weaker, so that's what it's chambered in, and that's what we're going to put in it. So I'm just going to load 5 rounds in the magazine right now, and I've got a couple targets set up there, and we're going to give it a couple shots. We'll do just some accuracy shots at 7 yards. Of course, back here will be 10 yards. I'm going to put the Hydra Sled up here. I'm sorry, the Matrix up here, and we'll give it a few shots. And then I've got a target set up there at 15 yards, and we'll take a couple shots at it. And this is a rifle, so we'll take it out to the rifle range and do a couple 100-yard shots too. Okay, now here's the absolute worst part about this gun, and if you got to rest something like this Matrix or the Hydra Sled or whatever, it's not going to fit in there properly. I mean, we can kind of get it in there, we can use it to kind of stabilize it. That's all I'm going to do. Put the magazine in there, it loads in the back here. It's kind of underneath your arm there, and it's really, it doesn't feel like it gets in the way. I think it's far enough, your arm is far enough out from it where it's not going to hit it. To charge it, we got the charging handle here on the left side. Keep our finger off the trigger. Of course, it is on safe, and we're going to go ahead and rack one in there and let it fall when you do it. So we're going to go ahead and give this a try and see what we get. I'm going to get the magnifier out of the way. Little flip up cover. Turn the red dot on, and we'll see where it's at. It's got a pretty good kick to it. Now, it's a pretty heavy gun, but and it is 308. Now, I aimed right dead at the center of that target, and it is not even close. Let's go ahead and take another shot and see what it does. This is a semi-auto, so there's another one in there ready to go. So it's looking to me like those two shots are pretty close together, even though they're not, you know, at the center of the target. Let's do another one. All right, that's a good 3-shot group there, but not where I need it. We're going to go ahead and kick the magazine out. Now there is a round still in there, so we'll eject it. And it hit the ground. We're going to do a little bit of adjustment on the red dot and get it over to the right about, looks like about 8 inches and maybe up about 3. All right, so I went ahead and set the Matrix up with the full rifle configuration, and I got it set in there. It's not the ideal situation for this gun, but I used that to move my sights over. Now, the best way to do this, and sometimes it helps if you, it definitely helps if you got a vise that will hold the gun without moving, is where your 3 shots landed. Go ahead and put your red dot right back at the center of it there, and then without moving the rifle, adjust your turrets on your sight so that the dot moves over to where your actual points of impact were, and that should get you where you need to be. That's the best way to do it. I mean, you can count you know, measure the distance and then count your clicks and everything and get it over to where it needs to be. But this being really close range like this, most sights are set up like a quarter, 1 click is a 1/4 inch at 100 yards. With us being real close like this, it's a little harder to do because I bet I moved it probably 30 or 40 clicks. Very tiny increments on those. I went ahead and put a 3rd round in there, so we'll do another 3-shot group right there at the center of it, and I think I'm going to leave it in there just like that. Now maybe I'll prop it back up because right now I've got it sitting on the barrel, and that can affect the accuracy a little bit. So let's give it a try and see what we get. All right, definitely want to put the earplugs back in. This thing is not quiet by any means. And let's go ahead and we'll get one racked in there and see what we get. Yeah, that's a whole lot better right there. Now, it is supposed to lock open on the last round, and oh, it did. The thing that threw me off was the charging handle is non-reciprocating, so it does not move with the rounds there. And we can go ahead and kick the magazine out, and we can load 5 rounds in there. We'll give it some shots at the 15-yard targets. Okay, so I've got 5 more rounds loaded up in the magazine. The bolt is locked back from the last group that I fired. We'll go ahead and put the magazine in there. Now, if you'll remember that little piece I told you to take out right there so you could get the hammer, the fire control group out of there, that is also the mag or the bolt release. So all you got to do is take and push that up, and the bolt is released and it's ready to fire again. We're going to go ahead and take 5 shots at that 15-yard target up there, resting it on the Matrix here and see how it does. You know what? This time I think I'm going to go ahead and use the magnifier. Now that shouldn't change the red dot at all because they're not actually connected, but it should get me a little better. Wow, it does look like it throws it off, but who knows? We'll go ahead and give it a try, at least for 1 or 2 shots, and see how it does. It looks like it's a little high there. Also a little bit high. Let's take the magnifier off and see if that's throwing that off a little bit. It shouldn't. I don't see why it would be. Nope. Okay, that's a pretty good group there, that's for sure, because it is, the bolt is open, it did lock back. It's a good group, it's just a little high and to the right, so, you know, maybe the Vortex Spark is not the best sight for this thing, who knows? It's like I just went a little bit past where it should have been. Anyways, this is a rifle. Let's take it up to the rifle range next. After we do some offhand shots at the target up here, rapid fire and see how it does. We'll just do 5 rounds. Okay, I put 5 more rounds in the Tavor. I got the magazine in there. And let's go ahead and drop the bolt. Again, this little button down here in the bottom. Nice. And we'll go ahead and we'll do 5 shots in that upper right hand diamond up there and see how it does. a little bit low and to the left, but it's got a little bit of kick to it. Now, it's a very heavy gun. I think it weighs somewhere around the 9 pounds mark, but everything is pretty close to you, and I probably could have leaned in a little bit more. And if I wasn't shooting for such a smaller target and just unleashed it, it'd have probably done really nice. Yeah, I kind of like it. Okay, it's going to be the same thing up here. It's not going to fit properly in the, this is the Hydro Sled. It's not going to fit properly in there. I'm only going to put 4 rounds in there because that's what's left out of the box, and we'll go ahead and give it a try at the 100 yard and see if I can hit that thing from here. Now, I don't know where this sight is going to hit. It was pretty good at 7 yards, a little off at 15, so it could be way off at 100. Yeah, I did not hit it. All right, there was my 4 rounds and I did not hit it definitely, and I can't see where it's hitting at, so it's going to need some adjustment. With that full length rail on the top, it'd be easy to put a scope on here, but it's not really what this gun is meant for. It is meant for close quarters battle, CQB, and it's a great gun for it, great platform for it, because it's so short. It's not, if I had my regular AR-10, I'd be out another 1.5 feet or so, because that one was made for long distance. This one is not, definitely not. It is made for much closer, and I'm really not a big fan of red dots on anything, rifles or pistols. A scope would be a much better thing to put on here if you wanted to do some long distance stuff. But if you're doing 3 gun, this is probably going to be pretty decent, although there are some longer shots taken in 3 gun competitions. Very heavy, recoil's not terrible whatsoever, and definitely a cool looking gun. Not scary at all. Anyways, thanks for watching Small Caliber Arms Review. If you could, reach up here and hit this button to check out some of my other videos. Hit this button down here to subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for checking out the Tavor 7 with me.